It is also the most emotional piece of evidence I've ever used in a case. You can sense the terror and the fear those two victims had when they realized the situation they were in.
Because this was the strongest physical evidence linking Ng to the murders, the prosecution planned to use the videotape throughout the trial to prove Charles Ng's guilt. William Kelly, Ng's court-appointed attorney, scarcely mentioned the defendant in much of his opening statement. His strategy was to shift the focus of the accusations from his client, Charles Ng, to the late Leonard Lake.
The defense in this case is really simple. That is, Leonard Lake had a motive for murder. Leonard Lake also had a plan for murder.
Kelly asserted that Lake's plan for murder was outlined in his diary under the heading The Miranda Project. He then read the jury excerpts from Leonard Lake's journal. Kelly suggested that Lake's conspirator was not Ng, but Claralyn Balaz, Lake's ex-wife. He asserted that she knew about the Miranda Project and even recruited potential victims.
Nobody's going to walk in here, sit down in that jury box, point a finger at Charles Ng, and say, I saw Charlie Ng murder somebody. It's not going to happen.
With very little physical evidence placing Ng at the murders, Kelly intended to discredit the prosecution's circumstantial case and prove it was Leonard Lake, not Charles Ng, who murdered the 12 victims. He asserted that Ng killed no one. The prosecution called Sergeant Larry Copeland of the Calaveras County Sheriff's Department to the stand.
Can you tell us how long
he told the jury about a startling discovery he made while analyzing the videotapes confiscated from Ng's San Francisco apartment.
And I'd put this tape in and push play, and it started with the credits. So I thought, well, gee whiz, someone didn't rewind this tape. So I pushed rewind, but I didn't push stop first. I just pushed rewind. So it started playing in reverse. And then all of a sudden, right at the end of the tape, it went, whoop.
What Copeland discovered was a still image of two bodies in a wheelbarrow. The image was entered into evidence.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
The medical examiner was sworn in.
Would you take a look at these photos for me?
He was asked to identify two photographs of bodies found at the cabin.
Yes, I believe that's the remains of Scott Stabley.
And this next one?
Those remains are from Lonnie Bond.
He went on to
I'd like to
explain the way in which Lonnie Bond and Scott Stapley were bound, gagged, and wrapped in sleeping bags. The sleeping bags matched those on the tape. The medical examiner testified that the bodies on the tape were in full rigor mortis.
A lot of the victims have been bound.
Rigor mortis occurs shortly after death when the blood flow is interrupted. It only lasts for a few hours until the body begins to decay. In Canada, Ng told Inspector Erdelatz he helped bury Bond and Stapley 24 hours after they were murdered. Whoever had taken the picture had done so immediately after they were killed. The single frame on the videotape found at Ng's apartment linked him to the murder of Lonnie Bond and Scott Stapley. Because so few of the remains found on the property could be identified, the prosecution relied on hundreds of personal effects discovered at Ng's apartment and the cabin to link him to the victims. These items were photographed and entered as evidence. The district attorney's lead investigator, Mitch Herdlicka, was in charge of witnesses' testimony for the prosecution.
Well, we had over 200 pieces of evidence that we used in the guilt phase of the trial, and we had about 75 witnesses that we had to bring in from various parts of the country as well as Canada to prove that those items belonged to the people who had gone missing and the victims in our case.
The prosecution then attempted to establish a link between Kathleen Allen and Charles Ng. Kathleen Allen was one of the women on the M Ladies tape who was tortured by Lake and Ng. Although her body was never found, several of her personal effects were unearthed near the cabin. The prosecution asked her sister to identify a heart-shaped pendant.
Ms. Allen, I know this may be very difficult for you, but I want you to look very closely at this necklace and tell me if you recognize it.
It's a necklace Kathy used to wear all the time.
Thank you. Your Honor, we'd like the record to show that the witness identified the necklace as belonging to the victim, Kathy Allen. So ordered. And at this time, the people would like to move that we place this in evidence.
The prosecution then began to construct the timeline of Kathleen Allen's disappearance to explain how she got to the cabin.
On April 14th, 1985,
her former supervisor discussed an odd phone conversation she had while at work.
Yes, sir, I did. And can you tell us about that conversation?
Yes. She said she got a call, and she said she wanted to join her boyfriend because he got a gunshot wound.
Kathleen Allen worked at a grocery store in Milpitas, California. Her boyfriend, Mike Carroll, had met Charles Ng while serving time in Leavenworth Federal Prison. Mike called Kathleen to say he was in Lake Tahoe and had been shot. He was sending a friend to pick her up and bring her to him. Kathleen told her supervisor what Mike had said and asked for some time off.
And what happened after that?
A man came by to pick her up.
In a what?
In a brown or bronze Honda, I think.
Did you have an opportunity to see the driver?
A little, yes.
Can you tell us what he looked like?
He was in his 40s, bald, dark hair, and he had a beard. That's all I remember.
The prosecution then showed the jury Kathleen Allen's videotaped ordeal. John Crawford investigated her disappearance.
The videotape picks up from there and shows that Kathy is brought into the residence, into the living room of the residence in Wilseyville. She is handcuffed and she is seated in a chair. Kathy was told, if you don't agree with us right now, we're going to take you into the bedroom, tie you to the bed, rape you, take you outside and put a bullet in your head and bury you in the same place we buried Mike, who was her boyfriend, Mike Carroll.
Did you ever hear from her again?
Kathleen was never seen or heard from again. Her manager later received a typewritten letter saying she had gotten a job in Lake Tahoe and didn't intend to return. The letter was dated May 6th, 3 weeks after she left the grocery store. Many of the victims' co-workers, families, and friends received typewritten letters from the victims to explain their absence. A comparison of the letters showed they all originated from the same typewriter. An Olympia typewriter found in the cabin was analyzed by forensic document examiners. They concluded that it was the one on which the letters were written. The prosecution entered the typewriter into evidence. The prosecution next tried to prove that Charles Ng was responsible for the abduction and murder of the Dubs family.
Miss Tuck, you told us that your last contact with Deborah Dubs was...
They called Karen Tuck, who was asked to testify about the last time she spoke with her friend Deborah Dubs on the telephone.
Well, Deb was expecting someone to come over to talk to Harvey or see his video equipment. And then the doorbell rang, or someone knocked, and we terminated the conversation.
So someone came to her door while you were in the phone conversation with her?
Right.
Hi.
Hi, we're here about the video equipment.
Yeah.
Harvey Dubs, a part-time wedding photographer, had placed an ad in a newspaper offering to rent his video equipment.
He's got a heavy-duty coax cable, too.
Karen Tuck told the court she tried to call Deborah Dubs the next day, but no one answered the phone.